All right, guys, this is going to be a fun one. I am going to be talking through just a few might not be the right word, through some of my top favorite books from the Curious Kinder curriculum. The Curious Kinder is the literature-based kindergarten curriculum that I have written and that is available on my website. There's a parent guide as well as a student notebook. You will have all these delightful readings scheduled out for you along with coordinated, easy to implement activities for your kindergarten school year. And in this video, I wanted to share some of my favorite books that I wrote into this curriculum that I included. And I want to talk about why I included these books and what I think makes them so special as we're teaching our children at this level. So I hope you are here to just enjoy and geek out over good books with me. Let's get started. All right, first things first, you can download a sample of the Curious Kinder on my website, a completely free sample that does include the full book list. I am not going to be going over the full book list today, but you can have the full book list and you can also see a weekly schedule to see how that goes in the sample, and the full curriculum is also available on my website, so I will link to that below in the description. But let's talk about these books. In the Curious Kinder, we are dipping our toes into the world of chapter books with a 5-year-old. I know, at 5, with a kindergartner, we're stretching and growing their attention span, and we're stretching and growing their ability to engage with the books that they're hearing. So at the very beginning of the year, we start with very easy chapter books and very short chapter books, which is the Lighthouse Family series by Cynthia Ryland. This is a beloved classic and a beloved first chapter book for good reason. So we're reading these, but we're also engaging with them and having some activities that encourage building the skills of narration and building the skills of comprehension and really building a connection with the books that we read. So we have 5 of the Lighthouse Family books that we go through during those first 5 weeks. And one thing I notice about homeschool curriculums is they tend to schedule a lot of classic books. And there's a lot of good classic books, and I am including classic books in this curriculum. Charlotte's Web is one that we read toward the end of the kindergarten year because it is more advanced as far as the vocabulary, and it has a little bit more of serious tones in the story as well. We have great activities to go along with it. So we are definitely including our classics. However, one thing that I consider a strength of my curriculum is that I didn't go with only old books or only classics, because while there are so many great old books and old classics, there are also fantastic newer books as well. So I did seek to include variety and some new modern classics as well. So we are reading The Very, Very Far North as part of the curriculum, and this is an absolutely delightful book. When you have a well-written book and you're a curriculum writer, it is so easy to write the curriculum. It is so easy to write the activities, so easy to write the questions and to think of how to engage with it and how to learn from this book. This was one of those books that it was just easy to work with because it was so well done. Absolutely delightful and charming book. A story of friendship, a story of clashing and different personalities and immaturity and growth, little by little. Very enjoyable to read, enjoyable for kids and adults. I love the activities I wrote based off of this one. So this is one of the modern chapter books, more modern chapter books that's being included, as well as this one, which is a much newer release than some of our older classics, Juana and Lucas. And this one takes place in Colombia. And this one is also a little bit different because we have a lot of pictures and some fun formatting in here. So this is going to be one that's fun for your kids to look at, be close to you while you're reading it. In this story, we're following a little girl in Colombia and who's going to school. And in school, she realizes she needs to learn English because learning English is part of school. And you know what? She doesn't really want to learn English, and she would much rather spend her time and energy doing other things than learning English. And kind of through the book, different people in her life, neighbors, relatives, friends, they encourage her of some of the reasons to learn English, reasons to put effort in, and to see the benefit of learning another language. And I loved having this story for our young kids because our young children, they don't always want to learn what we know that they ought to learn. I think it's really cool to see that being represented in a story, but seeing the adults in her life not just say, oh, it's okay, sure, you don't want to learn that, you don't got to learn it, but to kind of bring to life the subject for her in different ways and bring motivation into her life and help her to see the magic of learning something new. I also think it's very inspirational and can bring the connection for our own children, even if they're English speakers, to learning a second language on their own. To know that, hey, learning a language is hard. It's something that people all around the world do. And so we can appreciate the amount of challenge that goes into it and challenge ourselves as well. So that's another one of our more modern chapter books. We have a chapter book scheduled throughout the 30 weeks of the kindergarten program. But we are not solely using chapter books. We are using a rich amount of picture books throughout the curriculum as well. This is a series that I loved so much that I scheduled 6 books from the series and made this kind of our science nature study spine throughout the themes of the curriculum. So these determine the themes of each segment of the Curious Kinder. So you'll be reading and rereading Over and Under the Rainforest for 5 weeks. And during that, your theme is the rainforest. And you have different themes based off of these. So we have Over and Under the Waves, and while you're reading this, the theme is oceans, and you have different ocean topics you're going into. I fell in love with this series a few years ago, then I started collecting them and grew my collection. To me, they are a beautiful combination of lyrical language. These are the kind of books that are fun to read aloud. They are not overly wordy and long and technical. They utilize a lot of techniques of repeating sounds and rhyme and internal rhyme and rhythm that just make it fun. And they're fun books to read aloud. They also have beautiful and very detailed illustrations, so whatever you're learning about, you can have your child find those pictures in the illustrations. And then what's great is in the back of the book, they have background information about specifically the location that was researched for making this book, as well as all of the animals or plants that are referenced in the book. So throughout the curriculum, you read this book one time each week and you get instructions on what to focus on. And then you're told, hey, read about the giant Pacific octopus here at the end. And then you're going to do an activity related to something you learned about octopuses in your student notebook. So you do make use of this information as you go through these books again and again. Love this series. These are also pretty widely available at libraries, although you can also find them on thrift books, and they're fun for me to own. So because these are repeated, if you want to own some of the books, I do recommend these ones would be good ones to own if you want to own some of the books. The other picture books are just typically read for 1 week, so you don't need to own these. You can be getting them from the library if you have good library access. I also include YouTube Read Aloud links. So in a pinch, you don't have access to the book, you can look at the YouTube Read Aloud link. Now here's a rather revolutionary thing I did for a kindergarten curriculum, was I scheduled the entire Elephant and Piggy series in the curriculum as part of social emotional learning. And that might be something that people might question. These are the Spanish editions. Don't worry, I scheduled the English editions, but if you're a bilingual family, you can opt to use the Spanish editions as well. A lot of people see these Mo Willems books as just funny, as just engaging the kids. With all their drama and silliness, they see them as super funny and addicting for children. And that they are. They're very funny, they're very dramatic, fun to read aloud, fun for kids. But actually, they are more than just fun. I think fun is very important, but it's a little silly to pawn these off as, oh, just fun or trivial reading. These are not trivial books. These are actually great opportunities to talk about real situations that our children face, real decisions that they face, real disappointments or frustrations in the clashes of relationships with their siblings and with their friends. Every book is based on a situation that has something that will be very relatable for children and for the parents raising these children and seeing these situations. So in this one, Elephant and Piggy realize that they're in a book, and they're so excited to be in a book, and they're so excited that someone is reading what they're saying. But then Elephant starts stressing out. And you know why he starts stressing out? It's because he realizes that the book is going to end on page 57. And he spends about 10 pages stressing out about the book ending. Now, does that sound familiar as a parent? Might depend on your child's personality, but it is very common for children to be enjoying something so wonderful, a special, special event, and then them starting to lose the joy and lose the excitement of whatever fun thing they're doing because they're realizing this is gonna end, this is gonna end at some point, and they get so worried about the end and hyper-focused on the end, and they're stressing that this is gonna be over at some point, this snack is gonna be finished, this movie is gonna be done. They can start to stress out and freak out. And reading this happening in a book can really give us the start of having a conversation with our kids about, hey, what do you think about the way Elephant responded to realizing that the book was going to end? Did he end up stealing some of his own joy through stressing out and worrying about the situation? He did. He did steal his own joy. He could have continued to enjoy the experience to the end, but instead he chose to stress out about it and worry about it. Do you ever do that? Do I ever do that? Can we think of times when this has happened in our family? What could we do instead when we're playing at a friend's house and we know we have to leave at a certain time? Do we need to stress out about it, get anxious about it, cry about it, or is there some other way that we could handle the knowledge that fun things will end at some point? So these are surprisingly deep books. They can spark very good conversations. I give you notes on exactly how to have these conversations and role play different ways to respond to different situations when you read these books. Then I have one book scheduled for poetry readings throughout the year, and they typically tie into whatever theme you are learning about. So if you're learning about some bugs, we've got bug poems. If you're learning about fish, we have fish poems. We've got snow poems, skunk poems, all sorts of stuff. I am very firmly of the opinion that with 5-year-olds and small children, poetry should be fun. The Llama Who Had No Pajama is a book you see often recommended in homeschool curriculums for poetry for little kids, and that's for good reason. It's great, it's funny, it's engaging, they are enjoyable to read, and that's really what we want for poetry at this stage. There is not going to be a whole lot of other references that you have to spend time explaining to small children. They are a little bit more straightforward, but they still include quite a bit of rich language, rhythm, and rhyme, and yeah. So this is the poetry book. You might want to own this because you do need this throughout the year. Then for the weekly picture books, we have quite a variety, and we always have activities scheduled off of these. Then in English, this one is My Papa Has a Motorcycle. This is set in Southern California. So I've only been to Southern California once. My husband grew up there. But when I was looking at the pages, this looks like exactly the place, the types of neighborhoods where he grew up. It's a really sweet story of a father and daughter going on an after-work motorcycle ride through their neighborhood. We get to see their neighborhood. My sister, who is an artist, I lent this to her, and she was just blown away by the illustrations. The quality of the art is magical, and the story is very sweet, getting to see a dad and daughter spending time together, and getting to see also the rest of their family and their community, because they're driving by Grandma and Grandpa's house, and all of that. So that's one good book. I tried to have a very good mix of books when it came to the picture books. We've got newer ones, we've got older ones. We have some nonfiction ones because I specifically want to begin exploring different types of nonfiction with children at an age-appropriate level. This one is one that leans toward the nonfiction side, Mushroom Rain. It's an educational book about mushrooms, but it is also very metaphorical, lyrical, and beautiful illustrations. So in this one, we get to explore figurative language. We have delicate umbrellas open. Red octopus arms rise from the ground. So we're getting to explore the metaphor of this language. They aren't really octopus arms, but they sure look like it, don't they? Delicate umbrellas. How is a mushroom like an umbrella? How is it not like an umbrella? Great things to explore. So for the picture books, some are a little more serious, some are a little more just silly. I think we need to read fun books as part of school. I don't think we should read all the serious books during school time and then all the fun books outside of school time. So I schedule fun books like this one, If I Built a House. This is a fantastic series for exciting the imagination and creativity of your child. So delightful as we see a little boy thinking about what kind of rooms he would put in his house. We have I Want My Hat Back by John Klassen, which has a more understated type of humor. And in this one, we're going to get to study the illustrations, and we're going to look at and contrast the way that different characters respond to the question, have you seen my hat? We're going to analyze, who can you tell is lying? Because someone in this book isn't telling the truth, and there are some tells that let you know. We also have What Do You Do With a Chance by Kobe Yamada. I actually schedule all 3 books from the What Do You Do With series by him. These are, again, great books for getting into conversations about what do you do with different things. What do you do with these things that kids can struggle with? What do you do with a chance? Have you ever let a chance go by, an opportunity to do something go by because you were too scared to take it? So we get to have great conversations through these. These are just a few of my favorite books from the Curious Kinder curriculum. I will link to the listing down below so that you can explore more about it, and I am always happy to answer any questions that you might have. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.